Okay, so this is a companion video to a blog post I wrote about 2 years ago about how I got to the point where I am writing notes the way that I am, and kind of how it all came together. In the last 2 years, I've changed not a lot, but a fair amount of how I actually do this. And I wanted to record a new video because I've been talking to a few people recently about kind of how I do this and what my process is, and I thought I would give a quick update. Um, I'll say that like what I'm doing here is not mind blowing or particularly fascinating, but I always find if I watch what someone else is doing or kind of see how other people are solving problems that maybe I have a problem that's solved here. So hopefully that helps. So what I'm going to talk through is how I use daily notes and how I use the daily note template, how linking works in Obsidian if you've never seen that before, kind of how I use it, how I don't use it, just a little bit about it so you can see it's this two-way linking that's sort of a common component across note-taking apps. How I use project notes, that's one of the big changes I've made in the last 2 years, is taking notes on specific projects. How I use tags, I'll talk about that. Also text archiving, sort of the general text archiving stuff that I do in here. And then some of the problems that I have with this system. So this does a lot for me, and I'm really comfortable in this system, but it doesn't do everything. So I'll talk about that as well. So you're looking at Obsidian. There it is. Beautiful. So clean, simple. Um, First thing I want to talk about is the daily note. So I have on the left here a little calendar thing. It says open today's daily note. And what that just did, you didn't really see anything besides a file opening, but what that did, it takes a specific template, which you'll see here. You can see these two things are basically holding the same thing, and it copies it to today. And now I have a place to just write. So kind of everything starts here. My day starts by opening one of these, usually not on the weekend, but usually during the workday, yes. Open one of these and I can take notes wherever possible. Um, just to kind of walk through like what I'm doing here or why I'm doing it. These items here are basically personal to-dos, pay this bill, send this email to this person, contact this person, anything like that. And then down here is like work to-dos. What I maintain in this template is everything I know I need to do. Need to do. That's important here. So when I click on daily notes, I get a copy of everything that I really need that needs to get done. And then I go through and I say, you know what? I don't have time for that today. And I don't have time for that today. Maybe I'll read this article. Maybe. Waiting down here is just a little indicator to say I want to keep an eye on it, but I don't have any action to take. I'm not going to do this. I am doing this today. Did that. Oh, my hotkeys are not set up in the sample repo here. But let's see, I don't want to do this and I'm not going to do this. So it reminds me of everything I have to do. And then for the day, I pick the things that I expect to do or need to do, absolutely have to get done today. What that does for me is I find that if I see everything I need to do all the time, I lose my mind. And in fact, these things here are also like even sub lists. So this is my personal sub list. Mine's like I'm good enough now that it's like a page long, but these are things that I don't have to do. If I have a spare weekend or I have 3 hours to myself and I really want to be on a computer, really want to do something, okay, I'll do one of these. But none of these have to get done. I just don't want to lose track of them. So I don't look here very often, but it gets it off my mind. Same with work to do. So in here, I've got this is my actual work. Most of the stuff in here is example data, but I have things I might read, things I might learn. I might continue my CryptoPals challenge, and just projects that I have. So things that are like, I want to do something different. I need to change the pace. Maybe it's a hackathon, maybe whatever. I might go in here and say, you know what, I'm going to try something out. So it just gets it's several levels of getting these to-do lists out of the most urgent place, which is I need to do this stuff today. This is also the lowest possible bar to writing something down. So if it's something work, I might take some notes down here and never see them again. Or I might copy, paste them somewhere. So if I'm in a meeting, if this is a meeting with people, I might start taking notes here. Taking notes here. I take notes during meetings as much as I can. Just notes, 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 notes. I take a lot of notes. I also use it to copy paste stuff. Maybe I need a URL, and if it stays here, it stays here. This is a something that sticks around forever, but I may not ever reference it again. Um, so that's important for me because if I don't have the right place to put something down, I might forget to write it down. A lot of times that's okay, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it needs to go somewhere. And so this is where it goes. And then at the end of the day, I might take this and maybe I put this here and I put this in project two and I move this around or I might do it the next day. And then it doesn't have to be clean, but the stuff is in kind of the right place. This also is a nice, just very, very basic routine. I have tried really complicated routines of meditation and then do exercise and then do your pre-work and then journal and I don't keep up with that. So this is like, hey, just maybe write down how you're feeling today, maybe not. My wins up here are it's just gratitude. I find that's one of the few sort of um, practices that help me get out of worrying about the future and worrying about the past. So that's I write wins down and it makes me feel good. So that's about it for a daily routine. It's like a little bit of gratitude throughout the day and maybe something about how I'm feeling, maybe not. I find that these tend to become a little invisible to me. Routine checklists tend to become invisible. So I see this and I don't see it for like a week, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I should be writing something down. Cool. So that is daily notes. And this is I put a copy up here. I always keep this open to add new to-do lists if needed. Necessary thing. Um, and then I always know, okay, I'm gonna see this again tomorrow and I'm gonna parse through it. And this works really well to say, you know what? If this is not something I ever want to do, say I have a project for, if I just keep coming back to this and I keep copying it forward and copying it forward and copying it forward, I'll just take it off of here. And it's like, you know what? It doesn't need to be done. So that's what works for me. Linking. So you'll see some of these are linked. You can also, this is mark down if you've never seen this before, but you can have external links in here and it'll say, hey, this is outside of Obsidian. If it's not that, then it's a page in here. So everything gets linked. And you can turn this on by default, but it's probably can't see it because it's out of the recording here, but backlinks in document. This is a really cool, so this is this two-way linking. You might have, if you're into note-taking, then you've definitely heard of it. If you haven't, then you haven't. You can link things like this. So this is an explicit link. So this says you have two other pages that have been linked here. It's also this really interesting unlinked mention. And this works a little better. Let's see, I have, not here, reference. Okay. So I made this little page called Obsidian in my references, which I'll talk about here in a sec. Again, you can turn this on always, but this doesn't have anything linked to it. But if I click on unlinked message, it's basically like search for this word, search for this page title in other places. And it'll find stuff where you just wrote it down. So I said Obsidian video outline. Oh, I have something written about Obsidian. Oh, look at that. I'm writing about Obsidian in here. It's something that it's not a connection that I made. It's not something I did intentionally, though I can say link, and now it becomes official. And also have in my what to do, Obsidian Markdown scripts. Okay, cool. I could link that as well. And now everything is like actually linked. And then when I come back to here, I can see, oh, I have a whole page on Obsidian. I've got references. I've got all kinds of stuff. That's how some of these references work, which I guess I'm talking about now, but I keep stuff in here that I refer back to. So if I I cut back on caffeine, I want to look into, okay, how bad is caffeine? What about it? I might put some articles in there. I might put some quotes. I might put some data. And then as I'm talking about it, maybe in my daily note, I could say, kind of thinking about cutting back on caffeine. And I can link that. I don't have a page in here now. I can say, you know what? I want to check this out. It'll make a page. I can put it in my reference. And now I can just add notes, quotes, links, all kinds of stuff. And then I just have this little reference I can come back to. And maybe I forget about it for 6 months. Maybe I increase my caffeine intake. And then, 6 months from now, I go, I'm kind of thinking about caffeine. Oh, yeah, that's like not good for me this way. It's okay for me this way. It's like a lightweight way of just sort of outsourcing this kind of memory. You don't need to keep a lot of this stuff in your head for day to day. But it's nice to refer back to it if you are thinking about that. So that's how I deal with references. And I have kind of two. I have like general reference, which is like checklists and personal stuff and like just random stuff. And then I have specifically technology. References are probably something that I would never publish, but technology, I kind of think about, oh, maybe I should post those, put them on my blog or somehow do something with that. So that is how referencing and some of my text archiving works. While I'm on the topic here, even though I'm a little out of order from my outline, and I'm sure my Obsidian will notice, I do this also with reading. I found this to be really, really helpful for me to understand how and what to read. So I use Pocket, which is like an article saver. There's like Instapaper, Read It Later, stuff like that. That's what I use for it. And I end up saving a ton of articles, and I end up reading some of them and deleting some of them, and it just ends up being like I'm reading an article and I don't remember it. But there's certain articles that I read that I'm like, this really hit me the right way, or this really taught me something, or this is really interesting, or I want to quote it to somebody. And I'll basically copy and paste the content into one of these articles, and I'll like quote out some of the certain parts that stood out to me, and then add my own notes below that. So I kind of have a record of this, and then I can also do the same kind of linking stuff here, right? So if I read an article about caffeine, I'll put it in here. I'll put the quotes out. I'll probably link all this stuff to caffeine, and now I have like a source. I'll probably put the URL here up at the top. Then I kind of have like a source, and I have it all in one place. So I have a place where I can search. I could search caffeine, or I can see it in my daily note. I say, oh, I'm thinking about caffeine. I thought about that back in 2023. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I kind of went through that. Maybe I quit for a little while, and I'm like feeling great after 2 weeks, no coffee, something like that. I'm sure not all of you feel the same way. And it just kind of links stuff together, and it kind of makes this sort of path through your journey of information. I find I take in a whole bunch of information and just do absolutely nothing with it. And that's fine. And it's great. But, if I kind of, with the references and with the articles, I kind of put a stake in the ground and say, you know what, if I'm going to read something about something I'm going to learn, I'm either going to stop after 5 minutes, or I'm going to put it into Obsidian. I'm going to copy it in here, and I'm going to really comb through it and really learn something from it. And that's helped me to be really mindful about what I take in, because, like everything you're reading is minutes off of your life. And, you can read nonfiction stuff and it's enjoyable and that's fine. But I tend to fall into like productivity rabbit holes and self-help rabbit holes and self-improvement rabbit holes that don't make me feel that much better. And it kind of feels like, oh, I'm getting this information, but it's not really helping me at all. So this has helped me be a little more mindful about that kind of stuff. I also just save a bunch of random stuff in here, just any kind of reference, anything that's a document or a web page or something that I might want to figure out later. I convert it to text and I put it in here. This can drive you bananas. Like this is tapping into maybe some true low level OCD. I'm not using that as a cultural term. I'm using that as maybe this is something I deal with. But I can tend to like pack too much stuff in here, worry about the links. There's this graph linking functionality in here that'll like show you everything that's linked. And I'm like, oh, I got to increase the number of links because that'll help my brain work a certain way. You can really go a little crazy with this kind of stuff. Like between linking and text archiving, you can find it to be a total rabbit hole. And if you find it enjoyable, great, go right ahead. But there's nothing, I try not to force myself to do anything that isn't helping me, especially in this particular realm. So if these prompts aren't helping, if I don't write anything down, if I have things in my personal thing, I just get rid of them. Like I don't need to keep reminding myself that I'm not doing something. I want to actually do something with it. So that's same with text archiving, same with linking. I try not to go too bananas with it. Okay. Linking, text archiving. project notes. Project notes. Um, so I started doing this, and this is really, really helpful for me. I have this work thing. This work thing, this is the folder structure from my real Obsidian vault, but I don't have anything in here. Um, but I have these certain projects that I add to certain quarters. So every quarter, it just happens to be arranged by quarter where I work. Um, if I'm in this quarter, I just add a new project. So I say new note and then a new project. And I'll start writing about this. So I'll probably put some references up here. Link, link. And then I'll say like to do. Sometimes I manage to dos within the project. So if it's just kind of a smaller, I have I have some hotkeys that are not set up here. Thing to do. Try to be careful about these because they get lost. So I have to now link to this project. I will do that in my template. I'll go into my template and I'll say, oh, okay, we're working on a new thing, a new project. Cool. Now I know. Sometimes I do this kind of thing. So I'll say project two, and then I need to do this specific thing. So, uh, contact security or whatever. Or I'll put it in here. Just something to remind me, there's maybe something that needs to be done here. And then there's some kind of like project document, a solution design or an RFC or, some kind of document that we use to communicate stuff to each other. And this is where I write all of my drafts. All of my drafts start here. If I start writing about a certain project that I'm going to be on, I guess I should say 95% of the time, it starts as a draft in Obsidian. And then I can just write. I can not think about it. I can turn off Slack. I can turn off Confluence, the system that we use internally. And I can just go and I can just write. And so I'll write a bunch of stuff out. It's probably not ready for public consumption right away. And I'll just take that and I'll just blurt it all out. And then when I'm to the point where I need to edit and pretty close to sharing it with people, I'll copy, I'll paste it out, I'll paste it into the system of record. I'll put draft here. So we could also do this kind of thing. We can hide it. And now I have, and actually I'll put like a link. I'll put a link to where I put it. And now I don't really use that ever again. So for the most part, I don't like maintain drafts and copy paste across. It's just a big pain. I maintain it all in the system of record. As soon as it's out there, people can comment on it and I lose some of the context. But this is at least here to say, hey, now have a record. So I can go back to 2019 and say, what was I doing in 2019? Okay, I was doing this project, I was doing this data project, I put together this dashboard, I did this release, whatever it is. And it kind of reminded me of what that project was about. That's helpful for me. For some reason, like internally, I really like to have a nice record of that. But it also helps with like quarterly reviews. So when you go through and say, hey, what did you do in this last quarter? How did you do? Did you do this thing? Did you do that thing? It's very helpful with that. It will be at some point, I'm not interviewing, but at some point it'll be very helpful with an interview to say, oh my gosh, I had all this stuff in the past and now I know how to speak to it. I just really like that record. That part of it's really important. But the other big part is like now I have places to put stuff. So I'm usually only working on, let's say, between 1 and maybe 5 projects at a time. And notes just go in here. I'll put like, sometimes we'll say meetings and we'll say meeting with whomever, and maybe I'll put the date in here. I'll say 12/27. Great, meeting with whoever. And now I just have meeting notes. I can just put them in there and I'm good to go. Sometimes these make it into Confluence, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get linked with other stuff. Sometimes they just sit here forever and I never see them again. And that's fine. But taking notes helps me focus. And oftentimes they're really helpful for other folks to review. So that's been a big unlock for me. It's like these places where I go, like I write a lot at work, and if it's not in Slack, then it's probably in Confluence, and a lot of it starts here. So that is something I really enjoy doing. You can organize this by month, however you want to organize it. I also have references in here, so just work specific things like I keep checking where benefits are, how to log in, stuff like that, and it's just there when I need them, and I'm glad to have it when I do. Um, I skipped showing what daily ends up looking like. So I have all those quarters for projects, but under daily, I literally have a note every day since 2018, which is pretty cool. Um, I can scroll back through them. I have hotkeys set up so you can kind of like go back a day with a hotkey. So you can say, oh, what was this day? What was this? And kind of review back through the week. That's super helpful. But it's cool to have that record, and you can just see what happened on that day a long time ago, which for me is kind of interesting. I have one more feature or one more way that I use this that I want to show off, which is tags. Um, tags are I have a interesting relationship with tags. I don't use them very much, but they're good for collecting like lines of text. I don't find they're great for collecting pages. You can also like this is kind of a tag, right? Like you can see this links between things and collects stuff together. So this has a similar purpose. But tags, I kind of like this because you can click on it and just see. So it's just like a reference. Um, there's another tag here. You can search it out by tag like quotes. I do this in my thing. I just like quotes. I don't know. I think everybody likes quotes, but I really like quotes. I've got a bunch of them in there. And so now instead of having, you could have a quotes page, and then you find that maybe you're putting the page next to quotes, and now it's kind of like weird. But these quotes, like more, I want to see the quote in the context. So I want to see a quote about, let's say, well, not caffeine, but these are like more motivational quotes, but like about mindfulness. Maybe I thought, oh man, that was a really powerful quote. I would want to put that in a page called mindfulness, but maybe I want to read some inspirational quotes sometimes, and I'll go through here and say, oh, these are all quotes. Um, in other cases, I've been keeping track of that is not there. Why is that not there? I've been keeping track of, oh, ride. There we go. Um, I've been keeping track of just cycle training I've been doing. And it's all stuff that, I guess I could save it in the cloud training app or whatever. But I kind of like to see that, oh, today I had a ride. And I can go in here and say, what are all my rides? And it puts them out in date order. So it's like, again, like light grouping, and it's good to decide how you want to use a page and how you want to use a tag because they can kind of be used a similar way. Again, could be a really big rabbit hole for someone to go down. I try not to think too much about it. And I'm like, unless I have a really specific use for a feature within this, I try really hard not to use it. For a while there, I was like, use all the features and do all this stuff. And it's just tiresome. Like I want this thing, I don't want Obsidian to be a job. I want Obsidian to work for me and get the heck out of my way. And right now that's how this works for me. This is going on for a while, 23 minutes already. Okay. I just wanted to talk real quickly about three problems that I have. The main problem is, so Obsidian, I have this turned on to sync to the cloud. It's end-to-end encrypted, which is awesome. I would only use it in that case. And so I have it on my phone. Phone. Um, that's great. So I can maintain this stuff. I can take notes on the run. Great. But adding stuff is a pain. It's a pain. And mobile editing in general is a pain. Like if you use your phone to write stuff, it's just a big pain in the ass. But in terms of like collecting to-do items, that's like the main one is like, can I just add a quick to-do item to my I want to add it to my template because then every day I will assess whether I need to do it or not. That's hard. I have to open the app. I have to, it may open into uh, some page or something I already had open or the daily note or something. I have to get to this template, which is oftentimes what this link is for. I have to get here. I have to go to the end, anything, and then add another darn item. It's kind of a pain. Honestly, I wish I had a one-touch like text or just da 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 da, and it's on a list that I can not think about. It's one of the few GTD getting things done parts of that system that I really like. It's hard. It's hard to do that. To-do lists and then just whatever I'm thinking in a place that I need to find it. Um, yeah, that's challenging. But it's not the worst thing in the world. This does so much good stuff that's like one of those things that I'm like, okay, I'll get over it. I've tried a few different plugins, and it's just not quite it. So that's something I would like. Storage and other systems. Storage and other systems. I mentioned this project thing here. I like getting into other systems is challenging. You have two copies of it. So basically, once it goes into another system, I stop working with it in Obsidian unless it's like a one-time thing. So one of the places that that's not true actually is my blog, which I didn't cover. Um, this is all everything in well, there's nothing in here, but everything that's listed here is actually it's called symlinking. And I mentioned that in the other video, but it's a file system thing where you say, here, point this folder over there and just use that. So all my blog is in GitHub and it deploys from there, and that's great. But I have this linked there, so I can see all my posts here. I can search through them. I can add new posts really easy. I can start drafts in here super, super easy. And it doesn't really mess things up too bad. I can also, edit stuff on my phone. That's also a really, really huge unlock. It's a manual sync to get it up into GitHub, but that's totally fine. That's been fantastic. But anything else is kind of challenging. So basically, if I've copied and pasted into again Confluence or internal system, then I move on and I don't edit it ever again in Obsidian. Last but not least, which is really not a huge problem, but it feels like a problem for me, is where all my other stuff is stored, right? So I use Strava to keep track of workouts just because I've been using it for a long time. And right now that syncs to Day One, which is a journaling app. I don't journal in Obsidian because I have my work stuff next to it, and I just try to keep those a little bit separate. It's also encrypted and it's by date, and it's kind of like it works a certain way and it works for me, and I don't journal on my work computer, I journal on my home computer. So, but on a day, like if I go to my day and I say, oh, what happened, 4 days ago? Well, I might have journaled and I don't know. Is that the end of the world? No, not really. But it'd be nice to have some kind of link between the two or some place they all come together. I export my entire journal to text and I put it in Obsidian so it's searchable, but it's kind of like is that important? I don't actually end up using that text file that much, so I don't know. I also sync my Aura, which is I'll show you my best day. Aura is my this ring, like a fitness tracker thing, and you get daily data. And I have a manual sync that'll put this into daily notes, so I can like go back to a day, and if I'm looking like how productive was I that day? Oh, well, I slept pretty well and I got some good activity, so maybe that's why I'm super productive. Do I do that kind of analysis much? No, I don't. So I don't. Is it important that it's there? Not really. Still, I kind of want to figure that out. So also searching, like if I want to search something, there's all these different systems. So I'm kind of thinking about how that works. I don't know if it's like you want to pack it all into Obsidian. Maybe that's not the right thing to do. Maybe you want some other system that links it together. I don't know. But that's the problem with it. I did not expect this to be 30 minutes long. So I'm going to stop it now. But if you've watched it all the way to the end, thank you very much and hope this was helpful for you.